Good afternoon. I'm California State Treasurer Fiona Ma, and I would like to welcome you to this CalABLE webinar. As State Treasurer, I believe that CalABLE is an excellent financial tool for Californians with disabilities. For the first time, eligible individuals on means-tested benefit programs can save up to $100,000 without having their benefits impacted. CalABLE is a game changer, providing people with disabilities a low-cost, tax-advantaged way to save and invest for a better financial future. I am committed to promoting this program and for doing all that I can to continue to help people with disabilities strengthen their financial position to achieve a better life experience. Thank you for joining us today and for your continued support of the CalABLE program. I will turn things over to the CalABLE team to begin today's webinar.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Thomas Martin. I'm the Executive Director of CalABLE. So this webinar has a little bit of a unique focus compared to some of our other ones because we're here to chat about the upcoming eligibility change starting January 1. That's going to allow a lot more people to be able to have a CalABLE account. So um, if someone is joining specifically because they want to know this about this eligibility change, that's great. We're gonna have a lot of information for you. However, if you're just more generally interested in the program, that also still works because we're gonna basically walk through the entirety of the program. This really is for anyone, but we want to open up this specific opportunity for folks who want to know more about what's coming. So this is a good opportunity to learn more and find out if you can have an account January 1 and why you might want one. So let's go. We have a couple of poll questions we're hoping folks to answer. So I'll turn it over to Madeline.
Great. So with that being said, we do want to know who is on today. So are you an account owner or maybe an authorized legal representative who just wants to know more about CalABLE or maybe how the changes might impact you? Are you a potential CalABLE participant? Maybe you're eligible now and you want to open an account, or maybe you'll be eligible in 2026. And so that's why you're here. You're here to learn about the ABLE age adjustment. Or maybe you're a state employee or service provider who is here to learn some information for your clients. Since there's a lot of options, I'll give everyone just a few moments to fill this out. Okay, go ahead and end this poll and share the results. So of course, this webinar is all about ABLE age adjustment. So I do see we have some participants who will be potentially eligible in 2026. So welcome. This webinar really is for you to learn information for how you can apply for CalABLE in 2026. We also have some current account holders and authorized legal representatives, so welcome, and then some service providers and state employees as well. There will be a lot of information today, and we're really excited. For everybody who's on today, we hope that you will gain the information to share the word about the ABLE age adjustment to your community. Okay, and then we've got one more poll. So this one is going to be a lot easier. Let me launch this. Okay, so have you attended a CalABLE webinar before? Yes or no? Okay, I'll go ahead and that poll. Share the results. So we have 72% of you have attended a CalABLE webinar before, so welcome back. And then for those of you who have not attended a CalABLE webinar before, welcome. We're happy to have you here. And I'll turn things back over to Thomas now.
Okay, so like I mentioned, this is a great opportunity for us to kind of go through what CalABLE is, right? So we'll be talking about the eligibility change, and we're already getting questions in the Q&A. Please keep them coming in. But I'll be chatting about the actual change and what it means for eligibility. But first, as we go through this, I guess as part of it, we also want to talk about just what exactly CalABLE is. So let's start with at the highest level. So what is CalABLE? So CalABLE is a savings and investment program for the disability community. So it allows people with disabilities to be able to open accounts for themselves, or if they receive support from someone else, that person can open it for them and start saving money, and in the process, protect the eligibility for benefits if they receive benefits. So, why would you want to have an account? Well, a couple main reasons come to mind. So one is having a disability can be expensive. The cost of living for someone with a disability can be dramatically higher, than compared to someone without a disability. When you think about all the things that it can take to live and thrive with while having a disability, whether it's adaptive equipment or specialty diets or obviously healthcare costs, any modifications in your housing or transportation. Those are all things that can be extremely expensive. And so that's one thing to think about. CalABLE can help you plan and save for that. Maybe you're looking to protect eligibility for benefits. We're going to get to that in just a sec. It's a big reason why you want to have an CalABLE account, or just simply you just want to be able to just be prepared, have a good lifetime savings and investment strategy. CalABLE can be your partner with that. So there's a lot of different reasons why you'd want to have a CalABLE account, and none of them, they all work well together. So let's talk about that second one quickly. So CalABLE protects your benefits. So for those who don't know, there are a lot of benefits programs come with certain limitations. Um, one of the biggest programs, so more than 1 million Californians right now receive SSI, that's Supplemental Security Income. That comes from the Social Security Administration. So when people hear about disability benefits or disability pay or something like that, usually they're hearing about SSI. It's the main source of income for a lot of Californians with disabilities, with permanent disabilities. Um, the challenge with SSI is that you can't qualify for it if you have more than $2,000 to your name. So you can't have more than $2,000 in a bank account, in real, much of anywhere, and still get disability payments. So, for those who aren't on SSI, just imagine if your next paycheck, for example, didn't come in, and the reason why was because you have more than $2,000 to your bank, so you just simply won't get paid this month. How could you plan for the future? How could you save? How could you be prepared for an emergency? How could you get, a vehicle, let alone like a wheelchair accessible vehicle, something like that? You can't really do much if you can't have more than $2,000. It's a major barrier to independence. And that's where CalABLE comes in. So CalABLE is exempt by law for up to $100,000. So someone at SSI who normally can only save $2,000, with CalABLE you can save up to $100,000 and keep the benefits coming in. That's true for any other benefits program that also looks at your assets. So CalFresh being one of them. That's the food stamps. Section 8 housing, also called housing choice vouchers, being another one. Starting next year, Medi-Cal is going to have an asset limit of, I believe it's $130,000. Um, for those programs, CalABLE is fully exempt. You can save up to the max amount in CalABLE and keep those benefits coming in. And if anyone gifts you money, if they put it directly into your CalABLE account, that doesn't count as income. Whereas sometimes it would count as income for different benefits. So, again, this is a way to help people be more independent, and be more financially secure. So, on that note, we have a quick testimonial from Raymond. Raymond is one of our account holders. So what he said is, without CalABLE, I feel like I would be constantly looking over my shoulder, checking my bank balance, making sure it was under $2,000. With CalABLE, I've been able to achieve financial peace of mind. And that's really what we're talking about. Being worried about accidentally having too much money and then therefore losing your source of income, um, the anxiety that comes with that, but then also the inability to save for the future. That's something that CalABLE can help with. So now it's not just saving. It's also investment. CalABLE is a tax-free investment account. So we have a range of investment options in the CalABLE portfolio. People can pick and choose from. What you save in that account can grow, has the opportunity to grow, and that growth is tax-free as long as you're using the account for eligible expenses, which we'll get into in a bit. So it's great long-term savings vehicle with or without protecting benefits at the same time. And so this is another quote from Otto, one of our rock star ambassadors down in San Diego area. CalABLE has given me that tool to be able to invest in my future, just like everyone else. So if you don't have CalABLE accounts and you're trying to protect benefits, you basically can't save, and you don't have the opportunity to invest in most cases, but CalABLE helps you with that. So those are some of the reasons why you'd want to think about having CalABLEs. Now let's talk about eligibility. So to start with, you have to there's a couple things to keep in mind. So first of all, you have to have an eligible disability. There's two ways to know if the disability itself is eligible. So one is that if you are eligible for SSI or SSDI, that's Social Security Disability Insurance. Those are really the two main disability programs. If you're eligible for either one, then you have an eligible disability. Now you can also self-certify. So I'm autistic. I don't get SSI or SSDI, but I can still self-certify as having an eligible disability. So we have more information on our website. The website is on the screen. It's calable.ca.gov/eligibility. And it'll be, oh, thank you, Madeline. It is in the chat. So you can click on that link too, and it'll take you straight to it. So that'll give you some instructions, so you'll know what to look for an eligible disability. Um, uh, and basically, you just self-certify. We don't need documentation from you. We just recommend that you have it. And we'll get back into that in a bit. Now, the second thing to keep in mind for the disability, right? So those are the conditions, the types of disabilities that would be eligible. We also have to think about when the disability began. So you can open it at any age. Doesn't matter how old you are today, you can open an account. It just depends on when the disability began, what age it began by. So my disability began by birth, for example. So if your disability began before the age of 26, then today you can open a CalABLE account. You're good to go. So if you meet the eligibility criteria, the disability criteria, and it began before 26, you are good to go. But what we're here to talk about is what's happening next year, which we're very excited about. Next year, starting January 1, eligibility is going to expand from the age of 26 to the age of 46, meaning folks with a disability that start a little bit later in life will become eligible for a CalABLE account beginning January 1. The rest of everything else is remains the same. So the same criteria for the types of disabilities, that all stays the same. You don't have to receive benefits as part of it. Um, whether you're working or not, regardless of what your income is, none of those things don't impact your eligibility. So if you're a working adult and you're just looking for kind of long-term savings, great. If you're unable to work or you're working part-time and you're looking to try to protect benefits, for example, great. Anyone can come in. Um, and one more thing to note is that this won't affect anyone who has an account today, right? So this is expanding eligibility. This doesn't take anything away from anyone who can already have an account today. And so I know we got this question leading up to the webinar. Folks wanted to know, so why is this changing? This is because of a change in federal law. So a couple years ago, there's a change in federal law that allowed the IRS, the Internal Revenue Code, to expand to allow this bigger population to be able to have accounts. So who are we talking about here, right? So again, we're talking about disabilities that started, after age 25. So 25 to 40, or 26 to 45. So what kinds of folks are going to be eligible? So for one, veterans. So veterans with, for example, service-connected disabilities, they might receive those disabilities, after the age of 25. Today, a lot of them wouldn't be eligible for a CalABLE account, but in the future, a lot of them will be eligible starting January 1. Also, anyone who had, an injury resulting in disability, and if that injury happened between the age of 26 and 45. So, for example, a vehicular accident resulting in a spinal injury, something like that. Those folks will be eligible for an account. Other folks affected, someone who has a condition with maybe a later onset, so cancer or something like that, that wasn't apparent before the age of 26, but had an onset later in life. Also, anyone with a progressive condition that wasn't necessarily a disability at a younger age, but became a disability at a later age because of, maybe it's mental illness or like a physical impairment, like a visual impairment that worsened over time, for example. That's another group of folks who might be eligible. If someone had an illness they contracted later in life that results in permanent disability. So, for example, long COVID. If someone has long COVID and that results in a permanent disability that's eligible, that would be a target audience for CalABLE. And really anyone else who has a disability that comes after age 25 but before 46. Those are all folks that could have an account come January 1. So, I mentioned this very briefly on what do you have to do to get an account. Um, if you, again, if you receive SSI or SSDI, you don't really need any additional documentation. You simply click that you receive SSI or SSDI, and you're good to go. So once January 1 rolls around, as long as that you have that as long as you meet the age of onset requirement, you can open your account January 1. Just click the box. If you're self-certifying, I mentioned this briefly earlier, but you don't have to submit any records to us. However, we do highly, highly recommend that you have a diagnosis form from a physician. Um, so again, this doesn't come to us. We don't need medical records. We don't need any of that. Um, but you do need to have that in case you ever had to produce it. For example, if there were ever a tax audit or something like that, just to show you're eligible for the account. And so that when you do that, the diagnosis form will have some information on it. We have a sample that was just dropped in the chat, but it has some information on it that your doctor can sign off on. Your doctor can use a different form as well. It's really whatever's going to be appropriate as long as it says you're eligible, basically. So meaning it would be a disability that's included in the listing of impairments or the compassion allowances that is from Social Administration. Again, that is on our eligibility page. Um, there's a part of the sample form that we have that would recommend having in any doctor's note that simply says that yes, the disability began by such and such age, began before the 26th birthday, or for those who will be eligible January 1, began before the 46th birthday. So our diagnosis form, again, it's in the chat. It is updated for the change in eligibility. So, you can have your doctor get started on it really whenever, and you'll be good to go come January 1. Okay, so I know there's a lot of information. Folks can ask questions in the Q&A if they have more information, if they want more info about eligibility. So let's chat quickly about how much you can save in the account. So I mentioned one number already, and that was $100,000. If you receive SSI and you want to maintain eligibility for SSI, you have to keep your account at or below $100,000. Otherwise, that could affect your SSI eligibility. But for those who don't receive SSI or aren't looking to protect that, The sky is the limit, basically. So you can save up to $529,000 total in the account. You can keep contributing right up until that point. Um, now, those are kind of the caps. You couldn't go above it, but you can. But there's one other number to think about, which is the annual limit. So the standard annual limit as of this year is $19,000, meaning in this calendar year, you can contribute up to $19,000 in your CalABLE account. That is the standard limit. Um, this is based on a calculation using the IRS gift code. So this could change next year. It's been updated multiple times since the program launched. But at least as of today, as of this year, it's $19,000. So you could add $19,000 into the account. And if you did that over multiple years, you can reach $100,000 if you receive SSI, or $529,000 otherwise. That's how it works. Now, I mentioned that $19,000 is the standard limit. There is an exception to it. If you are working, right? If the person with the disability is working, but they or their employer are not paying into a retirement plan at any point in that calendar year, then they can save up to $34,060. That's a calculation based on the federal poverty level. Um, we have more information on our website. It's called the Able to Work program. So there's a bit of a calculation based on either the poverty level or the income the person's receiving. But that additional amount, so the additional $15,060, would need to come from that person's income. But again, a great opportunity to be able to save even more than the standard limit. Okay, and then so that's how much money you can put into the account. Um, how do you go about doing that? So there's a couple of things to keep in mind. So you can do electronic transfers. You can do one-time transfers, but a lot of our account holders do recurring transfers. So whether it's a couple $100 or basically the whole paycheck, whatever it might be, you could transfer that directly into your CalABLE account um, each month, or whatever recurring basis you're looking for. Um, if you are, but you can also set up direct deposit um, through if you're receiving Social Security benefits. So, for example, if you receive SSI, you can do direct deposit of those benefits straight in your CalABLE account. A lot of our SSI recipients do that right now. If you're working, you could do a direct deposit from work. You'd want to keep in mind that annual limit. Again, the standard is 19,000. You'd have to keep that in mind if you're set up a direct deposit. But yeah, you can set up a direct deposit from work. And then the last option, you can also you can submit a check. That weighs a little bit longer because it has to be physically mailed and then physically processed. So we recommend electronic transfers, but you can do a check if you need to. And one other thing to keep in mind, anyone can also, I mentioned this briefly, but people can give you gifts into your account. So anyone, friends, family, complete stranger off the street, can add money into your CalABLE account. You set up a gifting page. It takes like 1 minute to do, and you send the link out, and folks can you send it to whoever you want. Anyone can put in money into that account directly. You can put some limits on it. So, for example, you'd still be subject to that annual limit. So again, the $19,000 standard limit, you'd still be subject to that. You couldn't get more gifts than that. Um, but you can go right up to that amount. And as I mentioned before, it doesn't count as income. So for either tax purposes or eligibility for benefits, doesn't count as income. So another testimonial we have is from Hector. So this is what he said about gifting. For my birthday, I asked folks, this is my Able account. You can make a donation. And I ended up getting enough money to put down a down payment for a 2-bedroom, 2-bathroom mobile home. Now, this is someone someone who's receiving SSI, who again can't have more than $2,000. For a lot of folks in that position, how would they possibly put a down payment on a house? even a car would be difficult. And yet, with CalABLE, because people can put money directly in your account, they can help you save and grow. Um, we've had cases where people can put down a down payment for a home using a CalABLE account. So let's talk a bit about investing. I touched on this earlier, but just to expand on this a bit more. So again, we have professionally managed investment portfolios. We'll show you what that looks like in just a moment. We have a range of portfolios that people can pick and choose from based on whatever they're looking for, however they're looking to save or invest. One of the investment portfolios is more similar to like a savings account. It's FDIC insured, it has an interest rate, and then we have a range of investment portfolios that we'll show you in a bit. But the great thing is, again, you don't pay taxes on any earnings in the account as long as you use it for qualified expenses. You don't pay taxes on it, so you have this opportunity to be able to grow over time and build and save for whatever you're looking to save for, whether it's, you're supporting someone else and you're saving for adulthood, transition to adulthood, or like for me, I have my own account that I'm saving, and I'm saving for any major expenses, retirement or house or emergencies, whatever that might be. Um, so, a lot of opportunities folks can choose from. So, the investment portfolio options themselves. So, they're on the screen right now. Um, um, there are 8 options. The one at the top is FDIC insured, and we also call it the cash option. But then the other 7 are a mix of stocks, bonds, and securities. So folks can pick and choose whatever thing is going to be right for them and their personal situation. Madeline just hopefully dropped a link in the chat to the investment options page so folks can get more information. So the point of showing this is really just to say that we have a lot of options, that no matter where you are in life, um, there's going to be some options that you can benefit from. Okay, so those are the investment options. So very quickly about the fees. You'll also find this on our website, but so we do have fees on the account. Now, this is a state program. We try to keep the program as cheap as we can. So we do have fees, but we try to keep them low. Um, we have a standard $30 annual fee for each account. And then there is a range of fees that vary based on the investment options you choose. Um, so on the screen is an example of what that might look like. Um, for if you had $3,000 in an account over the course of a year, you could be looking at somewhere around between $38.40 to $43.50 in fees, varying depending on the investment options you choose. So it's just something to keep in mind. So there are fees, but again, because the account is all the earnings are tax free, there's an opportunity to be able to grow beyond what the fees are. Um, and then so we have another testimonial, which is from Miguel. CalABLE allowed me to get an introduction to investing for my future while actually doing it and planning for disability expenses that were here and that would be coming in the future. Um, it's really important for people to be able to save and invest, but they can also use it when they need to. So on that note, what can you buy? So, uh, on the screen are a bunch of examples. I won't quite go through all of them, but a bunch of examples of what you can use your account for. So, for example, you could use it to pay for education, housing, transportation, vocational training, healthcare. But you can also use it for basic things like food or recreation or some things along those lines. What you'd want to keep in mind, is the sentence at the top. It can be used for any expense that helps the account holder maintain or improve their health, independence, or quality of life. Those are the 3 terms to keep in mind. So when you're thinking about, is this something that you can use the account for? Was it benefiting health, independence, or quality of life? That's the core question. And generally, if you're buying something, if it's as long as it's benefiting the account holder, it's probably going to be an appropriate expense. Um, and that can be at any time and at any age. So you don't have to wait to a certain point to be able to use the account. So for me, what makes it great as like a secondary retirement vehicle kind of is that I can save but still tap into that money whenever I need to. I don't have to worry about it being locked away for the future. So if I have an emergency, have a major expense, whatever it might be, I can still access that money whenever I need to without a penalty. So for example, um, on the screen are some adorable dogs. Um, on the right is Valerie, one of our account holders, with her service dog Cleo. Um, and on the left is Henrietta, which is my son's service dog. They're both extremely adorable. They're also expensive to manage. There are a lot of expenses that can come with having a service dog, for example. So, things like food and vet bills and literally going to get the dog, flying out to wherever you have to go to train with the new dog. Those are all very expensive things. And it's something that the CalABLE account can help people save for, plan for, and when the time is right, whenever they need to, whether it's an emergency or it's pre-planned, they can spend what they need to spend for the service dog. Um, so yeah, just another thing to think about. So on that note, another one of our account holders, Ashley, and her son Dylan. So this is what she said. Dylan got a bigger wheelchair, and then we found out it doesn't fit in our car. We realized that we had money saved in CalABLE, so we sold our old car and used the money in our CalABLE account to have extra money to buy a bigger, nicer car. It fits his wheelchair amazingly. So, and it's a great example of how you can use your account for a big expense. And even though it's her car, right? Her son isn't old enough to have his own car, but it's benefiting him, right? She bought it because for his benefit. So it's completely appropriate expense. So those are the things you can use the money on. How can you actually use the account? So there's a couple of options that you have available to you. Um, one is that you can transfer money to another account. So you can transfer money out of your CalABLE account into like a bank account, checking account somewhere, and then you can pay for whatever you need to out of that. So that's one option. You can also have a check mailed to you. Unfortunately, we don't have a checkbook, but you can have a check mailed to you, which can be helpful if you're like trying to pay rent, for example, and you need to have check mailed to made out to your landlord. But the easiest option, um, and for a lot of account holders, what they use is they have the prepaid card. So you can get a CalABLE card that's attached to your account. You decide how much money is on the card. You decide when and where it can be used. Um, and then you go use it. It's a Visa card, so you can use it wherever you can use a Visa card. There's no fees on it. We're covering the fees for the card right now. And if you're opening the account on someone's behalf, whether it's a spouse or a child or whoever it might be, you can open it on their behalf and have a card for them and for yourself as well. Really, it's going to be whatever's going to be the most appropriate. So on that note, another quick note from one of our account holders, Adrienne, and her sister Allison. The best feature for CalABLE for us has been that it had the feature of a debit card, which would make it easier for Allison to use her money. So Allison is Adrienne's sister, and so she helps Allison manage her account. And Allison has her own card, so she can go wherever she needs to go. She can buy things, she can buy groceries, whatever it might be. But Adrienne can still manage the card for her and decide where it can work, how much can be spent on a day, those sorts of things. So it allows people to be more independent, as independent as is appropriate for their situation, um, without relying on someone paying for everything for them. So, just a great way that can be used to support someone with a disability. Okay, now, how do you open an account? Hopefully, folks are wondering this. It's pretty easy. On the screen here is our website. It's calable.ca.gov. You click on the Open an Account button, and you just start going through the process. It's not terribly different from opening like a bank account or something else. So some things you would need to know. You'll just want to keep in mind that the person with the disability, it is their account and it is their money. So you'll just want to keep that in mind. It belongs to them. Um, that said, it can be opened by the person with a disability or by a representative. So, like in my case, I have my own account and I manage it myself. But my kids also are also autistic, so each of them has their own CalABLE account that I manage on their behalf. And when they're adults, I can continue to manage it, or they can take it over, whatever's going to be best for them for where they're at. And we're excited about this. Accounts can be opened in 20 languages. Spanish, Chinese, Korean being some of the biggest ones in California, but also Russian and Japanese and a bunch of other languages. So it's meant to be accessible for folks. And one more quick testimonial. This is from Tiani. With the CalABLE account, I'm able to start investing and start saving my own money without having to check in or ask for permission. I am in charge of my own funds and savings. So again, it just speaks to how this supports people to be more independent, and manage for themselves or help someone manage themselves. So, a couple last things that I'll mention, and then we're going to turn over the panel. Again, it doesn't take too long. It takes like 15 minutes. It took me, I think, less than 10 minutes to get my account set up. So what you'll want to make sure you have ready. You'll need information about the beneficiary. And if that's not you, if you're opening it for someone's behalf, you'll need some information about yourself as well. So things like name, date of birth, social security number or tax ID, um, residency, the address, phone number, and work status. Those are just some federal banking requirements that you'd have to have. Um, Now one thing to note, you don't have to be a California resident and you don't have to be a US citizen. You just have to have the other information. You'll also need to include some information about your eligibility. Um, so you'll have to state that either you receive SSI or SSDI, or that you're self-certifying. So you just simply select them. Again, we don't need records. We do not want your records. Just you just state how you are eligible, and you'll confirm that you meet the age of disability requirement too. You'll also be asked for the diagnosis code. We get asked about this a lot. Unfortunately, this is a requirement. This is a federal requirement. However, um, it is more straightforward than it sounds like. You just select whichever one is the best fit. Some people have multiple disabilities. You just pick the one that you think is the most relevant. Some people, it's sometimes some disabilities are really hard to categorize, and that's okay. Just do your best. Don't, it's not a test. Just do your best to select the right one. Um, you can also designate the successor beneficiary, and we have some more information on our website, but you can select that at the time that you open the account. You choose your communication preferences, how you want to be notified about different things and where. And then you just go through the process of setting up. You have to contribute at least $25 to get the account started, and then you select from a range of investment options. Again, all those 8 portfolios, you pick and choose, mix and match, whatever you'd like, and then you're basically done. You are in the club. Um, so for those folks who are thinking about January 1, on the screen is a QR code that you can sign up for our mailing list and get some more information. But some things to keep in mind. You'll want to keep in mind that January 1 target. You can open it on January 1 at like 12:01 in the morning. Hopefully folks getting started right away. If you follow us on social media, we'll send you reminders, but also you want to sign up for our mailing list and you get reminders that way. So kind of getting ready for it, you'll need to pull together your information. Again, name, social security number. Hopefully you know your name. You'll want to think about the investment options. It's good to think about it a little bit in advance and decide, what you're interested in. You want to be ready to contribute at least that initial $25, but you can contribute again up to the limit right away. And recommend just having a budget for the year, deciding when and where you want to save. And this is our request, is if you could share it with other people who might be eligible as well, either today or, starting in 2026. So do those things. You'll be ready to get started. Again, it's not that difficult to get the account going. The biggest thing will probably just be to remember to set it up January 1. And if you sign up for newsletters, we will pester you so you won't forget. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Anne to introduce our special panel for today. So take it away, Anne.
Thank you, Thomas. Make sure I have this up loud enough here. Yes, I'm very excited to introduce our two panelists that we have with us today. Our first one is Julienne Dallard. She has been very active in the disability community since she woke up one morning paralyzed nearly 30 years ago. At that time, the autoimmune disease paralyzed her. She had two babies that she would soon have to support alone. When her husband left, Julienne applied to a charity to get an adaptive van and soon had a job selling adaptive vehicles. After 15 years of knowing the disability world from that angle, she took a job as the first person with a disability to help run the Abilities Expo, where she still works today. And if anyone has attended the Abilities Expo throughout the years, you probably have seen Julienne going around and around at the event. She has been on the board of many nonprofits and counts her reign as Miss Wheelchair California 2024 as some of the best work she has ever done to get people to work together. And I have worked with Julienne, and it has been a pleasure. So thank you, Julienne, for being here today.
My pleasure.
The next person I would like to introduce is Ligia Zunita. Her Ella is committed to provide access to individuals with disabilities around education, civic engagement, and disability justice. Lithia acquired a spinal cord injury in 2009. She became the executive director of the Center for Independence of Individuals with Disabilities in August of 2024, after spending 11 years on the board of directors. Lithia co-founded the Bay Area Sexuality and Disability Network in 2018. She is also a local elected official, while also serving on many different boards and commissions in her county. She currently chairs the California State Living Council. Lithia is an active peer supporter through Santa Clara Valley Medical Center Peer Support Program and serves as the Santa Clara Valley Medical Center Northern California Spinal Cord Injury Model System of Care Advisory. And that's a mouthful. Thank you, Lisa. She has two adult sons and resides with her partner and their two cats, Simon and Garfunkel. And I've had the opportunity to work with Lithia. Also, she was on our board here at CalABLE. So I would like to welcome both of you to the webinar. I know I've talked about each of you, giving you your bio, but if you would like to each add a little bit about yourselves before we begin the questions, feel free to do that as well.
Well, I'm just really happy that I get a chance to kind of give back to CalABLE, because over the years, I've watched what they've been doing, and they're such a good giving organization. And when I was Miss Wheelchair California, my platform was getting nonprofits to work together. And anybody who's been part of a nonprofit knows that's close to impossible, but CalABLE is very nice to work with. So I'm delighted they asked me to do something.
Yeah, and for me, I just am always looking for more options for folks with disabilities. As the director of a independent living center, I always look for different resources for my, not only my staff, because we do have the majority of our staff have disabilities, but also the folks that we're serving. And then just with the spinal cord injury work that I do, usually it's very difficult to navigate the financial world after having an injury. So it's always important to have options. But yeah, thank you.
Thank you both for that. And since the topic of this webinar today is able age adjustment, could you both just tell us a little bit about what that's going to mean for you as you become eligible this coming January? Either one can start.
Well, I'm older. I'll start. Uh, so when I first learned about the ABLE accounts, I got very excited because at that point I wasn't working, and it seemed like such a great way to fix a problem that already existed. You know, the government says, yeah, you got to live, but you can't save more than $2,000 in the bank. So here comes ABLE accounts fixing that problem, but oops, you have to have been disabled before the age of 26. Well, I was disabled at 36. So I just went, oh, well, I won that round of the Monopoly game. So when you guys told me that it was changing to 46, I was just thrilled because now all of a sudden I could plan my future in a different direction.
Lydia?
Yeah, for me, it's something similar. I was injured at 28, and so at that time, I was working and I had to liquidate basically my savings and figure out what to do with my investments. Oh, I think somebody is unmuted. Oh. I'm sorry. There's also I had an issue with my accounts, and then my children I had some savings for them, and then I had to liquidate that too. And so there was really nowhere to put any of my money at that time. I didn't have anybody that I could really think about opening a special needs trust with. And at the same time, I didn't really have the knowledge at that time about any resources like that when you're injured um so so quickly. It's just like a whirlwind of information and of navigating the world, and so that was really difficult. So it's definitely going to mean, again, more options and more options for other people. I'll be able to that will now I'm older, but now I'll be able to benefit from CalABLE. So at that time I couldn't because I was a little older than 26. So it's going to be definitely more options for me.
So you both have talked about, that it's going to give you more options. I mean, why do you want to open a CalABLE account? I mean, what is it really going to, how's it going to change things for you in January?
Well,
Go ahead.
All
Yeah,
right,
I keep
thank you.
starting. You go.
Thank you. For me, it's again like diversifying what I'm able to do. I do work, but I also use the 250% while working program with Medi-Cal. I know that there's a threshold. So it's gonna allow me to kind of just divide my money so I don't have to worry about not qualifying for certain things, because I need in-home support services, and I need my durable medical equipment paid for through Medi-Cal. They're the only ones that will pay for certain like bells and whistles that are on my power chair, as well as some of my medical appointments that are specialty care. Private insurance just doesn't do it for me. And so with Medi-Cal, I'm able to benefit from a lot more, but I can't benefit from it if I have too much income. So it's always a balancing game with my income. And it's so unfortunate because I didn't have this problem when I was, when I was not disabled. And it's just not, it's not equitable for people with disabilities. And, and thinking about disability justice, we need justice is equity, and it's giving people options, and depending on how they're, what their lives are like, it's not cookie cutter. So that's what it means to me.
Julian?
Wow, you really said that very, very well. I think I nodded my head off over here because that's the way I feel too. It's like, so you got paralyzed and now they're punishing you for being paralyzed? Because for me, I also work, and but uh, just taking my medical deductions and taking them off of my income, that just doesn't come anywhere near to being equitable to how much I need in order to get up and do this job, you know? And I'm very proud of the job I do, but financially, it really doesn't make sense. So being able to have the costs of my disability go a little further, that's what I'm looking for.
Yeah, and I think about your stories, and I think about what even Raymond said earlier in the presentation, that having these accounts, he doesn't have to worry anymore. It gives him that financial freedom. And I think that's kind of what I'm hearing from both of you, is that this really is going to kind of free up a little of that financial juggle that you both deal with, on a daily basis. I can't have too much, but I need enough. And so having this, having the CalABLE account gives you another avenue to move those funds to where you can have access to everything that you continually need access to. So are you guys doing anything right now to prepare for when you would be eligible? And I'm sure you're both going to be opening those accounts at 12:01 on January 1st. So are you getting yourself prepared? What does that time look like between now and January?
Education, education, education.
Yeah.
I think just, informing ourselves and making sure we know the ins and outs of what we're going to be embarking in, what are the different options are within CalABLE. And then also how we can pull others along. Maybe even having others join the opening of accounts with us. It's really important to inform yourselves and to make sure that you understand where your finances are going, and what that'll look like for your future, depending on what situations evolve into. So yeah.
And I think you got two girls here who are cut out of the same cloth, because
Yeah, really.
I'm going into a support group right after this, and I'm going to give them the encapsulated version of, okay, here's what I've learned.
Yeah.
Now, all the people who are interested in this, let's get us into a different support group. So maybe we can get somebody from CalABLE to meet with us and answer the questions. This is what's going through my head right now. Yeah, one of all I've been thinking about is spreading the word. And then just in watching the webinar just now, I learned a whole bunch of stuff I didn't already know. Like, I didn't have any idea I got to choose where my money was invested. No, no,
Yeah.
didn't even think of that. So yeah, research.
So yeah, I think, the presentation talked a lot about, budgeting, preparing, financial literacy. And it's good to have all those things kind of at least have a discussion with yourself or whoever you're having your financial future thinking about. But having that stuff already kind of selected when you do decide to go and open the account, it just makes the account process even easier, because you get to that page and you can say, oh yeah, I've already I've already looked into whichever portfolio I want to select, or I'm going to do this or that. So it really just does really accelerate the application process if you've already kind of had those conversations and thought about those future your future investments and goals. My last question, is there anything else you would like to add or tell somebody who may have a similar situation as yours?
There's hope. No, really, it can be so scary, like thinking back to when I was injured and like just all of the uncertainty that comes with it. Yeah, that there are options, that there are always services that are evolving. And like for me, it's been 16 years and finally things are changing, in this particular program. And so there's there's always an option out there. So just to prepare. Like you said with financial literacy, just educate yourselves and get informed.
Yeah, and what struck me was, hey, look, we have some control. What? We
Yeah.
have some control? We can actually make choices that not work around the existing laws, but work with the existing laws, but give us more advantage and more power, more independence,
Mhm.
more control over our own lives. That's and that's not just going to do nice things for us financially, but spiritually, that's going to help a lot.
Yeah, I think you both have really been great panelists. I do thank both of you for your time today. But, as I sit here and think about the takeaway, I think both of you have really articulated it well, that it's, that financial freedom, that peace of mind, that's really what this opportunity and the having the law adjusted, right, that gives people more options. And I like the options because I think everybody likes to believe that they have a choice, right? We all want to have a choice in whatever we say or do. So having this as another option in whatever our financial portfolio, I think is really important. So ladies, if you can hang on, we may have some questions in the chat that people might want to ask you. So I'm going to turn this back to you, Thomas, but thank you so much for being here and for sharing your stories today.
Now you know where we'll be 1201 of 2026.
1201. We will make sure the website is ready to go at 1201 with the updated application portal. Yeah, thank you so much for sharing your story, for explaining where you're coming from and why this matters to you. So really appreciate it. So a couple more things, and then a couple more things I'll go through, and then we'll open it up to questions. There's a lot of questions in the chat. We'll try to spend as much time as we can going over them verbally. So, some reminders. First off, how do you get a hold of us? You want to contact our customer service center. The phone number is 833 CalABLE, or it's 833 225 2253. Give them a call. They can help you answer any questions about opening or using the account, anything like that. The call center supports more than 240 languages. And if you have a hearing impairment, you can call via relay service. So that's how you can get some questions answered. You can also sign up for our mailing list. I know I keep plugging this, but the QR code is on the screen. Sign up for our mailing list. You'll get information about the program. We'll send updates about the age adjustment, the upcoming age adjustment, but also about everything else we have going on. And for example, we have monthly webinars. This is September's webinar. Next month's webinar is going to be about how CalABLE supports workers. Thank you for so on the screen you can see the flyer there. Able to Work. We'll be talking about specifically the Able to Work program that I mentioned earlier that lets you save a little bit more than the standard limit. But then also just generally how it supports people with disabilities who can work either part-time, full-time, whatever it might be. So that'll be next month's topic. Also, we have a webinar survey that you guys you'll receive after the webinar is done. So please, we ask that you fill it out. This helps us understand who we're connecting with and if we're missing anything. And plus, there's an opportunity to ask questions in there as well. So if you ask questions, we can try to get you some answers after the webinar if we didn't get to them today, or if you just didn't think of them right away. So please fill that out. Now, a couple of the legally required disclosures, because CalABLE has investment options, we want to make sure people know that any investment comes with risk. That's not specific to CalABLE. Any other investment, any other platform that offers investments does carry the risk of loss. That's something you'd want to think about. So yes, there's disclosure here. This is a second page of the disclosure. You can find and you can always get more information on our website that walks through this in more detail. So just want to thank everyone for joining, for listening in. Really appreciate our panel. Thank you, Ligia and Julienne for joining us and sharing your stories. And yeah, so again, January 1, that's the target. Please be ready to open your accounts, or if you know someone who is going to be eligible, please let them know. Please spread the word. And if you're with an organization, we'd be happy to work with you to collaborate on outreach or something like that. Just contact us, let us know. All right. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate it.